Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. All right, welcome to the show. Thank you for your comments on Brian's interview last week. Had a great time with him. I've connected with him afterwards. What an incredible network, great guy. And, I'm influenced by the things that he's done and said, and I'm enthusiastic to continue down my path and share stories that we get out of this podcast. So today I've got another special guest on. I think you're going to love the show equally. I've got Clint Pulver on the line. Clint, how are you today?
I'm doing good, man. It's nice to be with you, Jim. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I get the benefit of the Zoom call, so I get to see your face, but I loved your videos on your website and all the things that you're doing there. It's all very inspiring, and I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that. Would you mind taking us back to your childhood and telling your story for my audience? It's such an interesting way that your life has twisted and turned.
Yeah, man. When I was a little kid, I was constantly deemed a problem, like always, because I just moved. I had a hard time sitting still. My right hand would just tap, my left hand, my feet. And obviously, like if you're in a meeting or you're in a classroom and someone's clicking their pen or they're constantly tapping their foot, you're like, please, for the love of all that is sacred and holy, just stop. And I did. I got nicknamed. I got called the Twitcher. Kids called me the Tapper. And all the teachers would constantly say, like, kids, stop moving. I need you to hold still. Stop tapping. I'm trying to teach. And it happened again and again and again until one day there was an educator. And his name was Mr. Jensen. And he'd been teaching for a long time. And I remember he looked at me in class and he just reached out and he said, young man in the back, he said, you, Clint. He said, I need to see you after class. We're gonna have a conversation. And all the other kids are like, oh, Twitcher's gonna die.
Yeah.
the bell rings, class dismissed, everybody leaves, and it's a completely empty room minus me and Mr. Jensen. And he motioned for me to come over to the back, and he sat me down and he said, listen, you're not in trouble, but I watch you and you move all the time. Like you tap in my class, you tap in everybody else's class. But he said, you'll move with your right hand, and then you can do something different with your left hand. And he got serious. He looked at me and he said, I think you're ambidextrous. And I was like, no, I'm Presbyterian. He goes, no, that's not what it means. That's not what it means. He said, no. He said, try this for me. He said, can you tap your head and rub your belly at the same time?
Uh-huh.
And I could do it. And then he said, what? Now can you switch it? Can you rub your head and then tap your belly? And back and forth, literally without thinking about it, I could do it. And he leans back in his chair and he looked at me and he laughed and he just said, you know what? I don't think you're a problem. I just think you're a drummer.
Just like
and
that.
Jim, like in my life, I am the person that believes in the power of moments. Like very significant, powerful moments. We don't remember days. We remember moments. And in that moment, Mr. Jensen, he leaned back in his desk and he opened up the top drawer and he reached inside and he took out my very first pair of drumsticks. My very first pair. And he put them in my hands and he said, listen, he said, kid, I don't know what's going to happen, but I just want you to keep them in your hands. Keep them in your hands as much as you can.
Yeah.
And let's just see. And that was 22 years ago. And for 22 years, I've been a professional drummer. I've toured and recorded all over the world playing drums. I've been on America's Got Talent. I've played with bands like the Blue Man Group and Tim McGraw and Carrie Underwood. I remember when I graduated high school, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And so what do? At that point, you go to college, right?
Yeah.
I went to college. I graduated in 2012 with a bachelor's degree and zero college debt.
Yeah.
Zero. And that was because of music scholarships from playing the drums. And here's the thing, and I'm not saying all of that to go like, oh, wow, good for you, Clint, or what a list of accolades. Well, the reason I'm saying that is because of one person, a Mr. Jensen, who created a moment that communicated my worth, my possibilities, the potential that I had. He created a moment that allowed me to live a better story.
I love that. Everybody's going to ask, are you still in connection with that teacher?
Yep. So Mr. Jensen's still alive. He is the man. I call him Larry now. He's still a huge role in my life. He was actually over at the house probably 3 weeks ago. And he came over and he's just, and he was that person that understood mentorship, really how to advocate for a kid, not just develop them. And it's crazy too, because like those are the people that you remember, like, and we put so much emphasis sometimes in our lives on success, right? Or wealth or prestige or popularity or how many friends we have or how many downloads we get or how many clicks or likes we see. And we connect that to our worth. But if you think about it, if I were to, if someone were to ask me like, who are the last 3 NFL MVPs? Like I don't know that. I don't know the answers to that. If someone were to ask, who was the award winner for Forbes' greatest innovator in business this year? I have no clue. Who are the last 2 Miss Americas? I don't know. But if you ask me to, tell me the name of a teacher who made a difference in your life, like instantly, you can probably think of somebody. Name somebody in your work environment who's made your life a better story. We remember those people. Why? Because they were people that remembered us. And it's the difference between success and significance. And I think there's some beauty there. And, it's not about being the best in the world. It's about being the best for the world. And that's what sets us up to really, really live. Not just exist.
I want to unpack that for a minute. You said you're a big believer in moments. And I feel the same, because there's significant things that happen in our lives that change the trajectory of where we're going. Obviously, that was one of them for you. How do we help people to understand when they're in one of those moments? Because I think oftentimes they're overlooked. They don't realize that this is happening to them.
Yeah. I think one thing I've seen too in my professional life and what I do for a living now is most good leaders, right, or good business professionals, when you look at your job responsibilities, you know what you need to do. But the greatest leaders that have the greatest impact, that create moments, they know what they need to stop doing. I think sometimes in life, like it's so fast, we're caught up in so much, we are busy people, that you do miss the moments.
Yes.
I'm guilty of that too. Like I've got 2 little girls and life is crazy and it's busy. And there have been those times where I've caught myself and I missed a moment, because I was too occupied with other things that at the time felt more important. So I do think that if we want to capture more moments, if we want to have more moments, slow down. Like slow down. Da Vinci said that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Sure.
I love that, right? Simplicity. And I think our lives become more enriched when we slow down a little bit.
Yeah. So, the line, enjoy the moment or be in the moment, right? That requires slowing down. I think also allowing and teaching people to have the confidence that when they're in that moment, that they can pursue what comes out of that. Like in your case, here's the drumsticks.
Yes.
Somebody identified something about you, and now it was up to you to pursue that. You could have taken those drumsticks home, put them in a drawer, and never touched them again. But you realized, hey, there's something here.
Yeah.
What was it? I mean, I get that you were a fidgeter, and he identified how to put a tool in your hands. What clicked in your mind at that age to say, you know what, I'm going to do this. Like I'm going to be a drummer.
Yeah, the cool thing is with the drumsticks came an identity. Drumstick, like to be a drummer, like that was cool. My dad was heavy into music, loved music, and the drummer was cool. And all of a sudden, when I had drumsticks in my backpack, And people were like, "Oh, you play the drums." Like there was a sense of a little bit of like an ego boost. It was an identity thing that I liked. And I've always been attracted to the sound of drums. I know it sounds weird, but as a musician, there is nothing more satisfying in my life than when you hear a good mix of drums that are tuned right, like they've got the right set of heads on them, good wood in the drums. Like it sounds weird, like it's a drummer thing. But man, when you hear that and it's through a great sound system and that bass drum hits and you feel that in your chest. Yeah. Oh, it lights me up. And it always has, even as a kid, even to now, today. And I miss that. I miss concerts. It's like I miss hearing the sound of what drums sound like. I don't know. That sounds really weird. But
no, I'm a few years older than you, and I spent a lot of days at Motley Crue concerts.
Yeah,
and Tommy Lee rocked the drums, and every year they'd come out with a new tour, and he had to have a new gimmick. And I think his last year he's flying through the air, spinning, playing drums, and there was
fireworks. The sticks are on fire. Yeah.
Nothing like it. So where did this obsession with drums and this learning how to play drums as a child turn into a career choice? I mean, obviously, you're in band or whatever you're doing, but all of a sudden it's like, I'm going to make a career out of this.
Yeah. It happened honestly just through connection, right? That's the key to the music industry. I have young musicians always ask, how did you get this gig? How did you do that? And my answer is kind of always the same, is stay sensitive and be a good hang. Like be like kind to humans. It blows my mind how many people just aren't. They can be tight, and they can be dramatic, and they can be mean, and they can be selfish, and they can be just rude to other people that are trying to collaborate. And I think, again, if you stay sensitive and you're a good human, you're a good hang, that opens up so many windows, so many doors for you in I think any industry. And so, yeah, there's still a level of like, you got to be able to play, right? Sure. You've got to be a talented musician, but so much of it just comes down to who you are as a person and how kind you are, how good you are to work with. And do you contribute to the band? Mm-hmm. It's not about you, especially as a drummer, right? My goal is going back to moments, is to create meaningful moments in the music. And if you can do that as a musician and you associate that with being a good human, you will stay busy. People will work with you. You lock in the time. You create the feel. Like some of the greatest songs became hit songs. Like you take a good song and you turn it into a hit because the musicians created meaningful moments in the music. Mm-hmm. Like if I sit down and I play 2 bars of "We Will Rock You" by Queen, like instantly that song. And it's just a doom doom crack, but it's a meaningful moment in the song. Same thing with "Wipeout," right? The Wipeout rhythm, the drums, or the Phil Collins beat in the air tonight.
Yeah.
Do 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 do. It's iconic, and it really made the song what it is. It was a meaningful moment in the music. And if you learn how to do that and to serve the song and to serve the musicians, then you'll be a busy musician.
And by the way, the principles that you're talking about, they apply across the board in any industry, in any hobby or aspiration that you might have. I talk about it all the time. When you're in line at Starbucks to get your daily coffee, put your phone back in your pocket or your purse, say hello to the person in front of you and the person behind you. And like you said, be a good hang for the 5 minutes you're in that Starbucks line. You never know who you're going to meet and what's going to come out of that.
Totally. It's true. Yeah. And too many people, right, we get so caught up on what's on our screen. And yeah, I think it's again, those habits that you create that allow you to be more intentional about what you're trying to create for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do in the morning when you wake up? Do you reach over and grab your phone and start scrolling through Instagram and your emails? Or do you turn over to the person next to you and tell them how much you love them, right? How much you care? Like, where are our priorities? I've said this before, like marriage is grand, right? But divorce